Liz from French Toast and Books, and this is my friend Michael.
Hello again.
And because it's Valentine's Day, we have doing the book Courtship Tag, and we discovered this book Courtship Tag by spinesandcovers.com, which is a really fantastic book blog to go and check out. And the first question is initial attraction, a book you bought just because of the cover. And I chose The Body Institute by Carol Riggs because the book cover is amazing. I mean, you have a girl and you see her brain and it's blue and gray and it's awesome. You can't, I don't have the book because I checked out of the library. I'll have to show you the cover.
Okay, and the one that I picked was this one, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. For those of you who haven't heard of it, it's going to be a movie by Tim Burton pretty soon. And the best way I can describe it is it's Oliver Twist mixed with X-Men mixed with Tim Burton. That's the best way I can describe it. It's really fantastic, and the cover has a young girl floating and hovering in midair. And the whole book is full of these amazing pictures just throughout of just these children, and it's absolutely it's a very unique experience.
And me and Michael, we actually decided to do a reading collaboration with Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children with our friend Michelle, and we are still working on getting that video recorded.
You're tagged, Michelle.
Yes.
You were tagged. Miss you. Question 2 is First Impressions, a book that you got because of the summary. And the book that I picked for this one was Angels and Demons by Dan Brown. It's one that not only did I read the summary for when I first heard of it, but I also first saw the trailer for the movie when it came out, and so it kind of has the double header feel for me because that I picked it up the day after I saw the trailer, hooked on it from minute one. It's still one of my all-time favorites. This book is so old and beaten up because I've read it so much.
So I picked The Leftovers by Tom Perrotta. The book cover on my Nook app looks kind of atrocious, but the summary is really good. It's about the rapture. The rapture happens, and it's a collection of people in one town just deciding how to live life because they were not picked to be a part of the raptures. Number 3 is Sweet Talk, a book with great writing.
Ooh.
And I chose Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I read this at the end of December and the beginning of January, and her writing just blew me away. Like, it's beautiful.
The book I picked for my Sweet Talk was called A Sport and a Pastime by James Saltaire. It's a romance novel, a very, very sultry romance novel, but the writing is so unique and so different, and the points of view keep flipping back and forth, and there's narration that you don't expect coming, and it also has some of the most amazing and sultry romantic scenes you'll ever read in a book. It's like The Graduate in the 1940s in Paris, and it's absolutely fantastic. So, that was mine. So for number 4, that one is The First Date, first book of a series which made you want to pursue the rest of the series. And for me, kind of a cliche choice, yeah, Harry Potter, it has to be. I read this in 6th grade, and immediately bought the next 2, and what more can I say about it? You all know it, you've all read it. Nothing more I can say about it.
And my decision was The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. I actually picked this book up from a fellow booktuber and decided to just read it on a whim, and I was so sucked in that as soon as the sequel came out, I bought it and I read it, and it was amazing. So, yes. And then the third one comes out sometime this year. And we both are really excited about that because we both read this one, so it's great. But number 5 is Late Night Phone Calls, a book that kept you up all night long. And for my choice, I picked the very first book that kept me up all night, and that was The Goosebumps Curse of Camp Cold Lake by R.L. Stine. That is the very first book that I stayed up, even if though it was a school night. I stayed up until like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, way past my bedtime, to read this book. So that was great.
Can't go wrong with that. I actually chose Kiss of Deception because our dear booktuber Michelle recommended this one to me and bought it for me for my birthday. and I finished it within a week with with the latest night. I think I stayed up till 4 in the morning finishing this sucker, and then immediately bought the sequel again. It's just that good. It's very unique. Has one of the most strong female characters that I've ever read in a book. It's absolutely fantastic. Number 6 is always on my mind, a book that you can't stop thinking about. And the book that I chose was actually kind of a weird one. It's Doctor Who, the Shakespeare Notebooks. It's not really by any specific author, but it's kind of a weird concept. It's basically what happened if the Doctor, as not just involved in parts of Shakespeare's life, but in all of Shakespeare's life. And so there's a bunch of snippets from plays that are like Doctor Who themed, and the Doctor appears in Hamlet, Macbeth, and a couple other ones. It's such a weird and unique concept, but I absolutely loved it from minute one. And it's like reading a textbook at times, but it's so funny when you see these weird situations like, oh, what's the Doctor doing there? Whoops! So it's actually a lot of fun, and I personally love it.
And my decision, it was City of Bones by Cassandra Clare, and that is because the Shadowhunter TV series that just aired a couple weeks ago on Freeform, and I keep comparing the TV show and the book so much that just it's always on my mind. 7 is Getting Physical. A book in which you love the way it feels. And the one I have, it's The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, and this isn't the actual book that I like the way it feels. I mean, it still has like kind of a bumpy surface. This is actually Michael's copy. My copy that I'm specifically talking about is my actual parents' copy. It's a very old, kind of textured green book with like Dwarven letters on it. And I don't have it because my sister's borrowing it from me right now. So yeah, I just love the way that it's just like that old textured, like textbook type feeling that I just love it so much.
Nice. Okay, and the one I picked for Getting Physical is, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Dior by Dior, the autobiography of Christian Dior. And it's, like I said, I haven't actually started reading it yet, but at the same time it's just like, I picked it up because I'm starting to get into fashion a little bit more and interested in that sort of thing. And it's just, it feels like an actual like diary, it feels like an actual book, and it feels like so, it feels just so amazing, and I'm just like, oh.
It feels pretty nice.
It feels so cool. It's like reading, like, it's like you find like an old version of Pride and Prejudice in a library or something, and it feels incredible. So I'm like, ah.
Yeah. Old books just have a certain feel to them.
Yeah, they do.
It makes it feel amazing.
So, the number 8 one is Meeting the Parents, a book you'd recommend to your friends and family. And mine was a little bit strange because I was originally just going to say The Tempest by William Shakespeare, but I decided in the end to just say the entire works of William Shakespeare. These plays have been around for hundreds of years, and there's a reason they're still around. I'm getting more, every time I read more, I get more and more hooked on them. And it's just, everyone needs to read these.
My choice is The Orphan Train by Christina Baker Klein. And I read this when I was babysitting some kids next door when they were asleep. Okay, don't laugh at me. They were asleep. And I was so hooked on it. It is a historical fiction, but it's also tied to the present in the sense where this girl goes to help an old lady clean out her attic, and she gets brought into how orphans were handled back in the early 1900s. The last question 9, is thinking about the future. What book or series that you know you'll read many times in the future? And mine is Harry Potter and just the entire series. Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling is so amazing, and it's iconic in the sense where when I have kids and grandkids so many years from now, I'm going to read this to them. I'm going to make sure they read it. And I mean, this book, it's going to be with everybody. I mean, you have The Cursed Child coming out, and then we have Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. This book series and everything, it's evolving so rapidly that it's going to stay with us forever. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to make sure it stays with me forever. So definitely.
And the one that I chose, it would have been Lord of the Rings at first, but then I just decided Sherlock Holmes. I've been reading these since I was literally like 6 or 7 years old, and this is one that it keeps growing, especially with the new TV show coming out, with the 3rd Sherlock Holmes movie with Downey Jr. coming out in a couple of years, hopefully. Sherlock Holmes, it stayed around for this long for a reason. It keeps growing, and it's just I'm always gonna have a cover on hand. Just what can I say?
It's important.
It's so important. So
yeah, so
and
that is the book Courtship Tag, and everybody have a wonderful Valentine's Day, and I hope you have a lot of plans.
Happy Valentine's Day!
Bye.